W here. I want to have a little look at these Monstrum scopes. I had a couple of comments asking about a little more about them and about the Mach 2, and I wanted to show the WSM again because of the last video, or one of the last videos, where I had that Discovery Opt 3-12 that was a fail glass-wise. And again, just to reiterate that I think it was that scope particular more than the line, because I do have another Discovery Opt that's on my 1022, which is coming up in another video, that it's been fine. It's been actually very good. I know Nibs over there on his channel, Walnut, that he's got a Discovery Opt and he's had really good luck with it. And another couple of guys on another couple channels have had good luck with them as well. So I'm sure it was probably my particular optic as opposed to the line of optics. But anyway, having said that, let's talk about these. Here's a couple of 17's, and they've got the same scope on them. And this is the first one that I bought some months ago, and I thought it would be really good over here on the 17. This is my H&R. I think these are SS1s, Sporters, and you can see on the barrel there, at least I think you can read it. I know it's upside down. Let me spin it around for you and zoom in for you, make it easier. Under the, I was going to say magnet, under the level there, Sporter, 17 Mach 2. And I'm sure you're familiar with how these work. You have a little push button, a little eject, and they spit out the empty. This is a really heavy barrel, especially when you're looking at just a little bitty 177 hole. But it's been a really good shooting gun. And when they were available, they were cheap. Under 200 bucks. Of course, you can't get them anymore, so we're not selling anything here. These are no longer available. There is a couple other manufacturers that are offering products that are similar, the Rossi and the Stevens, but I don't know that either one of them offers the 17 Mach 2. So keep your eyes open if you find one. You may want to pick it up. And after we're done with the video talking about the guns, I'm going to pull out some ammo for both of these, and we'll look at that. But I didn't want to have it out here at the same time just for safety's sake. Of course, you're on the other side of the TV screen or phone screen, so you're 100% safe. There's no worries at all, and I'm not about to do anything foolish here. But just the same, we'll keep them separate to make everybody happy who may not be so experienced. Single shot, 17 Mach 2. We'll get them back out on the range and shoot them again, show off these scopes. But you can see this is the 3-12 by 42, and SF is whatever that is to them. It's their line. But these are not overly expensive or costly optic. They're a little over 100 bean sprouts, 130 bean sprouts, something like that. And right now they are on sale on a deal at Monstrum if you go to the website. They have a bulbous illumination here, which I really dislike. I dislike it on all scopes. When they do that up there, I just don't like it. It's passable when it's over here, but I'm not a big fan of illumination. It doesn't really do much for me. Although, I gotta say, there has been a couple times when I have seen it as a benefit, and I'm starting to come around to it. I still don't like it up here, and I've turned down a lot of scopes because of this. But this one I liked so much, I took a chance on it, and I like it so much that, there's another one. And there's another one on the shelf that I was going to put on the other. I have two of these, but I have a really good scope on the other one, and it's a Bushnell, with a ballistic plex reticle that's designed for this caliber. So it's a caliber specific scope. Not that it couldn't be put on another rifle, it's just best suited on a WSM. So why take it off to put something else on to, I'll leave it that way. So, these were made for a few years. I don't know of any other configuration. I think this is the only way they were offered. And I don't believe they even cataloged this as a heavy barrel. This is just the way they made it. But boy, does it shoot. Boy, does it shoot. And this one here, this is called the B-Mag. Kind of a slang term for it. But it's the Savage. Let's see if it actually has a number. No, it actually does say B-Mag 17. Let's see if I can spin it around for you here and get it in frame and then zoom in. And there it is. Savage B-Mag 17. Win Super Mag Caliber. Of course, read the manual. Westfield, Massachusetts. And you look in there, you see some kind of fugly looking yellowish. In the chat the other night on Georgia Shooters, we talked a little bit about bedding and the advantages, disadvantages, what's the reason for it and why do you do it? And I mentioned, I think it was 3 Jeep Discovery was asking, full length versus pillar only versus something else. What's the advantages? What's the reasons? And I went into it a little bit. The reasons why I would. And full length bedding I chose to do here because this is what's called a pencil barrel. It's a really, really small barrel. It has generally speaking, you don't find great accuracy, and you definitely don't find extended shooting good accuracy with skinny barrels. But they're fine for a few shots. They're great for saving weight when you want to have something that you're going to carry around and don't want to have to haul that weight because you're only going to ever fire 1 shot or 3 shots or something. And this particular one was always a pretty good shooter. 17s in general have been really good shooters, pretty much regardless of manufacturer or caliber. There's 3 17s. We got the Mach 2, which is the littlest one. That's a Stinger case. And then we got the HMR, the Hornady Magnum rimfire, and then the WSM, the Winchester Super Magnum. And I don't know if I have any HSMs. I'll look, but I'll bring out ammo afterwards, like I said. So I had wanted to shoot 25 grain bullets with this because I bought this specifically as a coyote hunting gun. Connecticut here opened up our state lands. Let me back up a little bit. Our state land for hunting is shotgun and rimfire only. So, and at the time, back in the day, it was most lands were 22 long rifle or smaller. So 22 long rifle, 22 long, 22 short. And then the 17s came out. So the wording was 22 long rifle or smaller. So is it smaller in stature or smaller in diameter? It was ambiguous. So people were using the 17 calibers because they're smaller. The rules say smaller. So it got by. So the legislation was such they changed the ruling and said, okay, let's make it rimfire. So it's all rimfires are allowed on state land now. So as soon as that law passed, I went out and picked this up because we're pretty good. We're pretty big coyote hunters. There's a big problem with them. They're just everywhere, and they're really taking a toll on game animals, on the turkeys, on the deer, and on pets and such in certain areas. So we hunt them as much as we can. So this being the biggest caliber available on our state lands, I picked this up. And it proved to be a pretty good shooter, but with lighter bullets. And we shot a couple of dogs with it, and it was okay. It worked better than the HMR. The HMR failed miserably for me, unless I made headshots, and they're not always conceivable. So I saw they offered a 25 grain bullet, so I started shooting it, and it was shooting like 2-inch groups, which frankly, it's fine. It would work fine. I don't have the ability here most of the time to shoot past 150 yards. So a 2-inch, just say 2-inch at 100 is going to be no more than 3 at 150. 3 inches is going to keep it inside every coyote that ever lives bread box. So fine, it's going to be fine. But I got to thinking I might be able to improve that. So I looked at the way these stocks are put together, and they're really, it's funky. There's, you don't see a screw in there for bedding, and the screws are kind of hidden up underneath. The way the magazine goes in, and it's kind of different. So I figured let's try bedding this barrel. So when I got it out of the stock, there's no recoil lug. Paddle, something that comes down that the recoil come up against to distribute it in the stock. There's nothing here. There's nothing in this gun for a recoil lug. Granted, it's a rimfire. There's not much recoil. There's really no reason for one. But the reason I wanted it, and the reason I want to see it, is for bedding purposes, for consistency of things not moving inside the stock. So it does have these ribs. They're kind of like a reverse recoil lug. So I bedded these. I coated this up really good, and I took a gamble and I coated it really good inside with lots of epoxy, scuffed it all up, cleaned it all up, and then I bedded this in. So if I were to take this out, you would see nubs sticking up where these 3 ribs are. Where these 3 ribs are here in the stock. So that is acting as a recoil shoulder to locate and affix this action in this stock permanently. What's the word I'm looking for? Steadily, firmly, without moving. And then I went, and the stock had a lot of flex. These stocks are just really cheap plastic, and it flexed a lot. So I took and I relieved the whole inside of this stock tip out, and I dropped in carbon fiber rods. Tubular carbon fiber rods. They're very, very stiff and very, very light. I epoxied them in. There's 2 of them, one on each side, underneath this barrel in this stock. That made this incredibly rigid. It's wicked, wicked rigid. It doesn't flex hardly at all. And then I full-length bedded the barrel into the barrel channel. And what you're seeing down in there is the edges of the epoxy where it didn't quite come all the way out and up. This was the very edge, and I cut it off as it went down. So it fully encapsulates the bottom half of the barrel, but I cut it off at the stock, and I didn't color it, so it kind of looks a little bit fugly. But I wasn't worried about looks. I wanted performance. And what I ended up with was pretty neat. The gun now shoots 25 grain bullets really well, and shoots 20 grain bullets really poorly. So where before it used to shoot, most of the time it would be inside an inch with 20 grain bullets. Now it's like 1.5 inches with 20 grain bullets, but it's like 3/4 of an inch to an inch with 25 grain bullets. Now the ballistics on this are pretty darn impressive. You're talking nearly 3,000 feet per second with a 20 grain bullet. And again, we'll bring in some ammo and I'll show you how it can do that in a few minutes. We're 14 minutes in, so I don't want to go too much longer. But the 25 grain is probably 26 or 2,700 feet per second, but it's a 25 grain bullet. Maybe it's a little more than that, but it's 25 grain bullet, so it's got a lot more wallop. And I see it working a lot better. Performance on game on coyotes is a lot better. So that's what I wanted. So let me cut this off here. Let me go get some ammo. Let me clear these off. And we'll talk about bullets just a little bit and then close up the video. Okay. So we got a number of different offerings from a number of different companies. The one missing over here with the Magnums is the Hornady. And I only had a few boxes of it, and I think it's in my range bag. Over here, we've got some Hornady, got some CCI, we got some Remington. Winchester does not make Mach 2 that I've ever seen. Winchester is the only manufacturer of WSM because it came from their industrial line. These cases are much bigger. It came from their industrial line for nail sets. And that's the only manufacturer of this diameter size case. So it's only Winchester. You will find Federal and you will find Hornady. But I've been told that it's all manufactured by Winchester. So you may find that one shoots better than the other. All you're seeing really is a lot change. Lot meaning brass, bullets, powder, priming compound combination. That makes a lot. The manufacturer of that specific lot of powder or brass or bullets or priming compound or the combination thereof creates a lot, which may or may not shoot better for you. So even if you're taking ammo, and this goes for any ammo, you take an ammo and you shoot it, 5 years ago you shot it and it didn't shoot well. Well, after a year or three, you can, maybe not even that long, you could buy more from a different place and probably get a different lot number, write down the lot numbers. And as long as it's a different lot number, try it again. It may shoot better. It may shoot better. It may shoot worse, but it may shoot better. Okay, here's the differences. The obvious differences. This is a Mach 2. This is a WSM. The bases are much bigger. The powder capacity is much bigger. And the bullet weights are bigger. You can get 15s, 17s, 20s, and 25s in this one. And in the little Mach 2, I think there's only 15s and 17s. And of those, I only have 17s, 17 grain. You look at them and they say on there, this one uses a 17 grain VMAX bullet. This is the Hornady. Here's Remington's. Remington is using a 17 grain AccuTip boat tail. And I think, now, Aguila made a 17 as well. And they used a different case. Like I said, this is a Stinger case. If you don't know, CCI Stingers brass is a little bit longer than long rifle. This is the reason that you see any match chambers, firearms, any manufacturer, will say no stingers. And the reason for that is the Stinger case, the brass, will actually go up into the bullet area and cause some serious problems, potentially, if you fire stingers in a match chamber. Because the brass is longer. So they take advantage of that slightly longer brass because they put a neck on it for the little Mach 2. So that's how they decided on this case. And this is a 17 grain bullet at approximately 2,100 feet per second. Now you look on here, here's the 25 grain. Here's the 25 grain at 26. Here's a 15 grain at 33. Here's a 20 grain at 3,000. And also the Federal American Eagle. Here's a 20 grain at 3,000. These are just devastating on squirrels. They don't tend to blow up too bad on the body, but they do destroy meat. But they're so accurate, there's no reason to be shooting them in the body. You can make headshots easy. Easy. You can hit golf balls at 100 yards easy with this cartridge. So shooting a headshot in a squirrel is no big deal. You're shooting them inside 100, guaranteed. And headshots are no big deal, and most people don't eat the heads. So this one here, like I said, it's probably 3/4 on a good day, but it's an inch. Let's just call it an inch shooter. And for what I do with this cartridge, I'll never ever need this past a couple 100 yards. And even then, the ability to get a target at a couple hundred yards is pretty small around here. So this works pretty good. These don't shoot as well for me. They're a lead-free polymer tip bullet that's screaming along. But you can see here, maybe you can't, but I'll read it for you. 3,300 at the muzzle. It's already dropped to 25 at 100 yards. So these really, really light projectiles may sound great and have great numbers and ballistics that you're thinking, but it's only at the muzzle. They drop off fast at range. Where you're going to maintain energies and powers are with longer, heavier bullets. I don't know if this is going to give us trajectories. Oh yeah, okay, here we go. So just to compare, we've got here 17 Super. Now they're listing HMR, so you got to look at what you're doing here. This is 2,600 at the muzzle. It's still doing 2,250 at 100 yards. This was 33 and it's dropping to 25. So we're losing 800 feet per second in this one. And we're only losing, what's that, 2250, 2350, 2450, 2550, 350 feet per second with the 25 grain. So 800 versus 300 velocity loss. We go out to 200 yards, and I can't read this very good. It looks like 1900, and at 200 yards, this is 1821. So this one is almost 1900. This one is just over 1800. So see what I mean? This longer, heavier bullet, although it starts out slower, holds and maintains power and velocity better than these light little screamers. This is the biggest reason I prefer heavy for caliber bullets over light for caliber bullets. There you go. All right, guys, we've got this video stretched out quite a ways longer than I wanted to, but we talked about lots of stuff. Got any questions, leave them down in the comments. You want to see more, please leave it in the comments. Let me know. I'm happy to make videos on you guys' suggestions, and this is one of those. God bless everybody. CW out.